forget that it's Monday because Mama Bear is back.
I'm back.
Let's go.
Yeah, what was that?
You have returned from hunting zebra in Texas and visiting family all over the world.
Yeah.
You are a popular young lady. It's good to have you back here on The Sweat. I'm Emerson Lotzia. Not that you care.
Exciting.
Well, let me turn the volume down on my computer.
Amateur hour in here.
I love watching
First
this here.
he dabbed, then he's got the volume up on his computer.
A lot coming up on this show, though. We're going to talk some over-under for NFL totals. Also, have Antonio Brown's toes rotted off yet, and something about a helmet as well.
Yeah, we're also going to look at odds ahead of the second leg of PGA Tour playoffs, but we're coming out of the gates with an 8-game fantasy baseball slate, so we got some people here to talk about that. DK Live's Greg Ehrenberg. We got
a new face to
the program, Doug Norrie, owner of DFSR.com.
Doug, keep it weird. That's all that we ask here on The Sweat, please. Chase or fade, though, is the name of the game, so agree or disagree with the following DK Sportsbook options. So you got the White Sox plus 255, home underdogs to the Astros. This coming after, Houston lost on Sunday to the Orioles and one of the biggest upsets, talking in terms of odds in more than a decade. In fact, 15 years.
Wow.
Greg, chase or fade, the Astros drop back-to-back games as huge favorites.
Well, I'm really happy to know that you watch yourself do the show while you're doing the show. There's nothing more in character for you than maybe the most narcissistic thing I've ever heard of.
Greg, he has multiple tabs open.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I am
so
watching myself.
He's watching himself on multiple tabs.
Yes.
Like it's split screen, just Emerson and Emerson.
Greg,
Yes.
listen, I got Facebook, I got Twitter, I got YouTube. The only thing I don't have open right now is the DK Live app because I'm focusing on you and me.
Great, good. The thing I actually write on, that's the only thing you don't have open. But everything else, good. We're doing good there, Emerson. So looking at this game with the Astros, I think they should be favored. They should win this game. But the question of whether it makes for a good bet or not is no for me, just because there's so much variance in baseball that I tend to not really think any team's a good bet when they're this big of a favorite, especially when they're on the road. Like, just for a point of reference, if we look at the odds on 538, they give the White Sox a 32% chance to win this game. For there to be value in the current number, we need them to win 28% or more of the time. So if I'm going to bet either side of the game, it would be a slight edge towards the White Sox side.
Okay, Doug, what are we thinking here? Does it mean anything when I tell you Houston's 9-2 straight up in its last 11 games against the White Sox?
Nah, that doesn't mean anything to me, really. The baseball, you mentioned the variance around it. One day to the next day just has really no bearing, especially when the pitchers just change. So that part isn't really playing in for me at all. The line started pretty low at minus 250. It's up to right around minus 300 right now. I think it's pretty much a fade for me in terms of a bet. And if I was going to go one side, I probably would also go the Orioles as well, just because I'm a little worried about Greinke here and his ability to get strikeouts against a team that struggles with that part of it. But in terms of betting, in terms of using yesterday to inform today, I'm not really interested in doing that.
All right, well, the Angels are home favorites at a minus number, but you can get plus odds by taking Jose Suarez to get the win. So chase or fade, you like Suarez at plus 150 to get the dub, Doug?
I do not like him get the win. He really struggles to go long in games. The guy can't really get, I think 3 out of his 10 starts, he's made it through 5 innings, which you just need to get right out of the gate to get the win. So I don't know where you're getting, even at plus 150, it's really such a struggle for him to even get to that number. So I'm not interested in that. I know the Angels are favored, and I know that's a nice number for a guy who's entering the game as a favorite, but I'm not interested in that number at all.
Greg, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with Doug here. There's just a lot that has to break right in order for Suarez to get the win. The biggest issue is you have to pitch 5 innings, and he's only done it once in his last 5 starts. He's only done it 3 times all year. He's not very economical with his pitch count. And then on top of that, the Angels don't let him throw all that many pitches in games. I think he's only gone more than 90 pitches once all season. So just put all that together, he's not likely to go 5 innings. And then even if he does, he needs run support. He has to actually pitch well. He doesn't have all that many innings to get run support, since even if he does go through 5 innings, the most he's pitched all innings is 5 2/3. So it's a fade for me. I think that if there was a number on the other side for like minus 170 or so for him to not get the win, I think that would be a strong bet.
Hey, Greg, sticking with pitchers here, though, Padres starter Joey Lucchesi has struck out 8 batters in 2 of his last 3 games here, 2 of his last 3 starts. So his listed strikeout total tonight is at 5.5 against the Rays. So you're going to chase or fade that the over hits, please.
Yes, I'm going to chase this. He's been striking out more hitters since the All-Star break, over a hitter per inning. And the other thing to consider, too, is the Rays strike out a lot against left-handed pitching. They're playing in a National League park where they don't have the DH anymore. There's a pitcher batting. And then on top of that, really weak lineup for the Rays right now. Tommy Pham's out with a hand injury. Austin Meadows is out of the lineup tonight. Eric Sogard, who they recently traded for, he's out of the lineup. So it's a weaker than normal Rays lineup. I think this is a pretty good spot for Lucchesi.
Okay, so after everything Greg just said here, Doug, I mean, any chance you're going to be taking the under? He's kind of got me sold on the over.
Oh, man, I was going to try to sell you on the under because
do it.
I know that the Rays strike out a lot for the season against lefties, but this particular lineup really doesn't. And I know it's not the hardest hitting lineup in the world because they're missing some bats. I have them at basically 1% more than league average strikeout rate. Right now, I have Lucchesi at, I'm not going to read all the decimals, but like 5.356, and then it goes into a million more decimal points. But I have actually have him on the under here. I think the recent stuff doesn't really bother me as much, and I'm looking at the historical numbers in this lineup. This lineup just does not strike out a ton.
Okay.
All right, last one here, Doug. A huge over-under in the D-backs-Rockies game at 14. So chase your fade that this game lives up to the offensive hype and goes over at Coors Field.
Man, it's 14 is such a huge number. You really can't. It's so hard to go here. I think it's only the sixth number that's been this high this year. Yeah, sixth. And one of them, they're all in Coors. One was the crazy Red Sox game. The number's already looking like it's coming down too, because in some spots you need a little juice on the under. So I'd easily bet the under on this one. It's just so hard to get 14 on a consistent basis. By the way, only one of those games hit the over. It was 17 runs. It was 26 runs one game. All the rest hit the under on the 14. So I'm going full under on the Rockies game.
I don't know. Doug has me convinced. Greg, are you going to try to convince me it's going to go over?
No, I'm on Doug's side too, and I hate Coors Field. I hate Coors Field. I hate the Orioles. Just get rid of all of these spots. Because here's the issue with Coors: if we just look at these games and we're trying to look at it, just the numbers of it, the D-backs have a 90 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. The Rockies have an 83 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. Both these pitchers are terrible, so it's kind of hard to know what to make of it. But I mean, if these teams were playing on a neutral field, there's probably like an 8.5 or 9 run total because it's at altitude in Coors Field. It just becomes so hard to predict how many runs are going to be scored in this game. So I'm going to say that for DFS purposes, it's a really high upside game to stack, but I wouldn't bet the total in it.
Greg, you know who likes Coors Field?
Nobody.
No, Pierce Dietrich. He does. It's unfortunate we don't have him on the show tonight. All right, guys, we're going to need you two to help us with Showdown picks. We got 2 contests that's coming up at the end of the show. We're going to poke over to the NFL right after a BMW Championship course preview with Reed T. Fowler. He is back from Hawaii.
How's it, golf fans? Reed Fowler here for the second and penultimate leg of the 2019 FedEx Cup playoffs, the BMW Championship at Medina Country Club in Medina, Illinois. This behemoth of a golf course measures over 7,600 yards, will play as a par 72, and will be putted on bent grass greens this week. The Reese Jones redesign will play host to the top 70 FedEx Cup ranked golfers after last week's first playoff cut, all looking to make the final 30 for the Tour Championship at East Lake Golf Club in Atlanta next week. Medina has played host to prestigious tournaments over the years like the U.S. Open, the PGA Championship in '99 and in 2006, as well as the biggest upset we've seen in golf, the 2012 Ryder Cup. Tiger Woods, who won the PGA Championship held here in 2006, is hopeful he can play after withdrawing from last week's Northern Trust, and European Ryder Cup stud Ian Poulter, who never lost a match, will join the likes of Paul Casey, who makes his playoff debut, along with Keegan Bradley, the reigning BMW Championship previously held at Ronimink. Medina Country Club is a beast of a course, and it's been a minute since we've seen this course in a regular PGA tournament. The aforementioned 2006 PGA Championship was the last time Medina had a regular field, and it played as the 17th hardest course that season, with the 15th most birdies, 12th most bogeys, and 10th most double bogeys recorded on any course in 2006. Even though it's a course which requires distance off the tee, golfers like Luke Donald, who ranked 5th in approach and 7th in tee to green that season, also played extremely well and finished with a T3. So players like Griot or Jim Furyk, who don't hit the ball far but rank inside the top 10 in approach over the last 50 rounds, could do well here. I'll still be looking at guys who have an all-around game, can stripe it off the tee, and have had success at other courses with the same dimensions. And my favorite this week, Jason Day. He parted ways with caddy Stevie Williams just after 6 tournaments and looks to improve on his ranking, currently sitting outside looking in at 50th in the standings. Day has had success on courses similar to Medina like Quill Hollow, Bay Hill, and Whistling Straits, and over the last 24 rounds, he ranks 30th in tee to green and 11th in strokes gained off the tee, and on courses over 7,400 yards with par 72s, he ranks 5th in approach and 14th in tee to green.
We're finally getting a delicious taste of football. I'm a big appetizer guy.
Yeah, you are.
And these preseason games are, they're going to quench my appetite for appetizers right now. I'm excited. She's excited. These guys are excited. Reed T. Fowler, good to have you back from Hawaii. Jeff, you're in the same spot as always. And we have a friendly new face to the program, Jerry Donabedian of RotoWire. Did I say that right, Jerry?
You were close.
Donabedian.
Donabedian?
Is that right?
No, Emerson.
Not that close.
Just let Jessie handle the tough stuff from now on,
Yeah.
please.
I tried, and you know what? I tried to
Emerson,
spell
please,
it phonetically, and I
please.
screwed that up too.
Just sit here and look pretty. All right, I'm also excited for NFL Spin Move, putting a fantasy spin on the top stories in the NFL, which brings us to helmets. Yes, helmets. Today, an arbitrator ruled against Antonio Brown's request to wear his really old helmet.
It is really old. It's like 12 years old.
It's the only helmet he's ever used. So AB took to social media to release a statement saying, while I disagree with the arbitrator's decision, I'm working on getting back to full health and looking forward to rejoining my teammates on the field. I'm excited about this season, appreciate all the concerns about my feet. Okay.
I can't wait for Hard Knocks tomorrow.
So Jeff, allegedly the helmet drama is over, but has this whole debacle made you wary about drafting this guy for your fantasy team? I mean, what if next week he decides he doesn't like his shoes?
Yeah, I'm a little wary of Antonio Brown these days, safe to say. I mean,
it's awful.
Frostbite, helmet gate. I don't know what more we could have asked for from Antonio Brown this early in August. This is amazing just from a news perspective. I love it. I mean, I'm so excited for the regular season to start for the Raiders. I know this has nothing to do with fantasy, but I just wanted to talk about it because this is going to be just drama-filled mess. And as far as the fantasy perspective goes, no, I don't know what he's going to do in season. I don't want to waste a high draft pick on him. Derek Carr has not produced any wide receiver ones consistently over his career anyways. So maybe Antonio Brown lifts him a bit. But in all seriousness, I'm not drafting this guy anywhere, anytime.
All right, Reed, are you with Jeff on this? You just want to stay away from whatever this train is?
I come back after a week and a half back in Hawaii, and Jeff is still true to form, doesn't answer the question. So I appreciate that. He's right, though. What's going on with Antonio Brown is completely crazy. Do you waste a high draft pick on him? No, I don't think so. I think a lot of it has to do with the success that he saw with Ben Roethlisberger. Less about maybe Antonio Brown, but for this question specifically, a lot of his success comes from Ben Roethlisberger just throwing the ball up to him. He's a guy that when he's covered, he's not covered. There's a few guys like that, right? Calvin Johnson, when he was playing, Julio Jones is like that, and AB is that guy. Derek Carr isn't that quarterback. And so looking at other receivers, I think Hunter Renfrow, out of all of them, right, is a guy that you're not drafting, but I think gets the biggest boost. With Derek Carr, plus 10 yards line of scrimmage, he saw a higher QBR rating than the league, higher than average. So I think he gets a bump, but you're not drafting him, right? You're seeing him maybe on the waiver wire. He gets the biggest bump, in my opinion.
All right, Jerry, these guys not so hot on AB. What do you think?
I'm a little more willing to take the risk. I think some of this stuff kind of is his odd behavior, to say it nicely, over the past 2 years, and the quarterback downgrade. It's kind of been priced in already a little bit. Granted, the stuff with the helmet and the feet, it's like a different level of weird for him, and we can't deny that it's a little concerning. But I think that we've already seen his price in drafts fall significantly from last year, and now it's probably going to fall even further. So at some point, I think it's worth taking the risk. Once guys if you can't have someone like a Mike Evans, I think I like the upside with Antonio Brown more than someone like Keenan Allen or T.Y. Hilton. But there's always the chance that after 2 weeks, the Raiders are 0-2, and he's just I'm kind of over this, and kind of like we saw with Randy Moss in Oakland a while back. So I think it's a risk worth taking, but definitely a risk.
Have any of you guys on this panel ever been inside a cryotherapy chamber? Anyone?
Yes.
Oh, you have? How cold was it?
Very cold. It's minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit. It's very cold.
Guys, the injury happened in France, so he just couldn't read the instructions probably.
Just real quick, Reed, what was the footwear you had to wear inside that thing?
They're like Ugg boots. They're required to be put on.
He went in barefoot for sure.
What an idiot.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great use of that ice-cold graphic thing we just put up there. The pride of Boynton Beach High School, Lamar Jackson, playing the entire first quarter in his first preseason game, talking 15 minutes here. Directing 2 Baltimore scoring drives. Reed Muffin, he tosses 1 touchdown pass. However, he did not rush the ball a single time. How much are you reading into this, like thinking we see him dropping back more in the regular season now?
Oh, wow.
Good form there, Emerson. I think you do see him drop back a little more this season, but I mean, come on, this is not something that you're going to put full stock into. Look at last year. I mean, 0.83 averaging per points per drop back. That's 21% higher than a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Now, granted, you got to take that right with what within context is that he didn't drop back that much, but he's doing all of his stuff with his legs. And Harbaugh and the Ravens aren't going to take their biggest strength and their biggest asset away from this offense, especially with that full stable of running backs. This guy is a dual threat. I think you see him pass more, especially with the receivers that they have, speedy receivers that they have, and a stud tight end that they're looking at playing all 16 games. Hopefully, right? We see a Ravens tight end not play all 16 games. I think their offense does get a bump up, but I wouldn't take this for more than what it's worth, them trying to work things out in the preseason.
Okay, how are you taking this, Jerry?
I'm not worried about it. I mean, last year in his starts, he averaged 17 carries. There's just no way to sustain that over a season. Even if they tried to, he'd probably get hurt. But recently, 2 weeks ago, the Baltimore reporters were asking John Harbaugh about him, and they brought up that Cam Newton's career high is 139 carries in his whole time he's been in the league. And Harbaugh instantly said, take the over, in reference to Lamar Jackson. So I think the kind of question then is, where does he land between that 139 and his pace from last season prorates to 272 over 16 games? Certainly, I think closer to the 139, but you're still talking about, another challenge for the quarterback record for carries. I wouldn't, in terms of the preseason game, he's going to throw more and run less than last year, but we already knew that. So I don't see any need to really respond to 1 quarter of preseason action.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you responding anyway. Jeffrey, what do you think here? You think the team's obviously being very cautious, but hey, I mean, is this going to be a revolutionary offense with this kid? The Delaware wing team, maybe?
I don't know if it's going to be revolutionary, but I mean, they're going to use Lamar Jackson as their primary rusher. I mean, like it was just said. I mean, it's not going to be probably not going to be rated to what it was last year, 17 carries a game or whatever, but 12, 15 carries a game, yeah, I think they're going to try it. The biggest risk with Lamar Jackson is injury. You don't have to worry about this preseason stuff. They're going to rush him, and he's going to rack up the run yards. It's just injury. And do teams somehow figure this Greg Roman, rushing quarterback first offense out? Those are the only 2 worries with Lamar Jackson. I think he's a pretty good value for season long right now. A lot of people have him ranked below 15. If you can get him around that spot, I mean, I think it's a good value. I'd have him ranked much higher than that personally. So I like Lamar Jackson. There's risk too, but I like the risk with Lamar Jackson. I don't like the risk with Antonio Brown.
Okay, well, Dwayne Haskins had a quarterback rating under 45 and threw 2 picks in his Redskins debut. Case Keenum followed by going 4 for 9 in his time. And yeah, it's only the preseason, but is there any chance that there's going to be anyone, just anyone, with fantasy viability in Washington this season, Jerry?
Maybe in leagues where every starting quarterback is fantasy viable, like if you're talking about a 2 quarterback league or a super flex. But in terms of our starting 1 quarterback 12 team league, no, I don't think. I mean, they don't even want to throw the ball much. They want to run the ball and play defense like they tried to do last year, with some success actually before Alex Smith got hurt. And even if one of those guys plays better than what we're expecting, which isn't much, you look at the hype with that passing game right now, and it's about a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant in last year's draft, Trey Quinn, and a rookie 3rd-round pick, Terry McLaurin, who had less than 1,200 receiving yards his final 2 years of college combined. So not to say those guys aren't interesting players, but when that's the cause for excitement with your passing game, I don't think that, quarterbacks that are already shaky in our minds, it's hard to get excited about them.
Yeah, Jeff, sounds pretty dark for Washington. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah. From the quarterback perspective, for sure. I mean, look, the first thing is you don't know even if you were somehow going to be drafting one of these players, you don't even know which one to draft, who's starting. I mean, it'll probably be Colt McCoy when he comes back because Jay Gruden loves Colt McCoy. But, I mean, Washington ran the 7th fewest plays in the NFL last year. And Jerry's right. They want to run the ball with Adrian Peterson and friends, right? So they're not going to be a pass-happy team. They don't have the personnel to do it. the carcass of Jordan Reed is still there, but on the outside, they have rookies. They have guys who've underperformed their whole career. It's a complete stay away unless you're in some sort of 3-quarterback league or something.
Reed, it's bad, huh?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played in a 3 QB league.
Yeah.
But that'd be interesting. These guys are right. Not to add too much to it. Darius Geis, RB38 right now. Right, there's a stable of running backs. Resigning AP doesn't help you. Actually, I will disagree with Jeff a little bit. Jordan Reed, you're getting him super late in drafts. He was, I think, top 10 in targets at that position. I think he was 8th in targets only over 13 games. I think that's the most he's played in quite some time. So I don't mind him if you don't get one of those top 3 guys. Going super late with Jordan Reed. Clearly, you should get someone as insurance, but I don't mind it.
Okay, great work, you three. Jerry, please hang tight. We're going to need you for some over-under talk coming up in just a second. Jeff and Reed, you two are going to be talking golf right after this little Love It or List It update.
Hello, Brendan Glasheen here with your DraftKings Fantasy Flash. If you've been living under a rock, just call Tom Brady. Maybe he'll cut you a deal. Shortly after the 42-year-old's new contract extension came to light last week, Brady's Massachusetts home became for sale $39 million. But the Patriots quarterback told WEEI Radio in Boston Monday morning, "You shouldn't read into anything." Brady assured he loves playing for the Patriots, has a great relationship with owner Bob Kraft and Bill Belichick, and this isn't the time to worry about it. And it probably means the house, the contract too. Typical Patriots fashion, it's all about the season at hand, 2019. The Brady contract will not be a distraction all year, people. You just wait. New England will start slow, as it typically does in September, an extension of the preseason. The scrutiny surrounding the Patriots won't be Tom Brady's contract. It will be his actual ability to play at 42. That narrative will recharge, as well as the Patriots dynasty is over. That whole thing will kickstart again.
We're back, and it's time to talk golf with Jeff Ulrich and Reed Fowler. And this segment is PGA for better or worse. So should these opening odds be better or worse for the following golfers entering this weekend's BMW Championship?
Jeff, we got Brooks Koepka and Rory McIlroy both coming in at plus 850. Should their odds be better or worse? Yeah, they also both really hate slow play. Let's keep that in mind.
Yeah, hate it.
Yeah, especially Brooks. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a little surprised to see both these guys at the same price. I mean, I would definitely rate Koepka as the favorite here. Neither one of them performed like that great. I know Rory finished T6 last week, but it was kind of smoke and mirrors. He was a little bit all over the place, especially with his ball striking. Brooks was too, but I mean, you just look over the past month and a half. Obviously, Brooks coming in with the massive win at the WGC Memphis. I would rate him as the deserving favorite here. I think this course is also just going to set up really well for Brooks Koepka. Had a massive week off the tee last week. Was up there in driving accuracy and driving distance. I think that's going to be really key at a course like Medina. Thicker rough this week, longer course. I think McIlroy should be a little bit higher. And if you're trying to choose between one of these two, I would lean Koepka 100%.
Reed, you saw the story, right? Brooks almost just taking out your boy Bryson.
No, that's Jeff's boy, Bryson. Like, if golf or any sport can be more like professional wrestling, I'm all for it.
Dude, I was saying, like, this weekend, the Antonio Brown stuff was one thing, but that drama, man, when I was really
Things
hoping
were getting
for,
spicy.
yeah, I was really hoping to see some kind of video of those two just like jawing back and forth on the
dropping
practice
putters.
screen.
And
Yeah.
even Brooks mentioned that in his presser about the slow play. He took forever to answer that question. It's like, hurry up, Brooks. But when you talk about both of these guys, you can easily throw away the stats for both, right? Because they can win by not playing well the week previous. I'm actually going to disagree with Jeff. I think Rory, if you look at his tournaments where he didn't miss the cut, obviously, at Memorial or the Open, he hasn't had worse than a top 10 since the Wells Fargo. And he is a guy that, when you talk about strokes and tee to green, both of these guys, you're splitting hairs on their stats, but he is amazing. When these guys are playing their best, and I get it, you can talk about Brooks in the majors and hard tournaments that he just shows up and wins these. When these guys are playing well, Rory is arguably one of the best golfers in the world. Par 5 scoring, you got to give the nod to Rory. Strokes and tee to green, I think it goes a little bit towards Rory. Brooks mentioned at the end of his round, or at the end of the tournament, that he feels uncomfortable over the putter right now. Again, I don't take that for a lot of what it's worth, because he is one of the best, if not the best, right now this season. But I'm going to lean towards Rory. I do think Rahm, who we'll talk about in a little bit, does deserve to be in that consideration, but I would choose Rory of the two.
Oh my God! Well, you basically just answered my question, Reed. John Rahm sitting at plus 1,200. So, Reed, how do you feel about those odds?
Yeah, I think they should be, worse for us, but in terms of, better. No, worse. I was right the first time. Because he is playing some of the best golf, right? If you just look at over the past 5 or 6 weeks, this guy, tee to green, or just the finishing position, he's playing the best. When you look at Rahm, though, too, and you look at this course, a lot of guys have talked about it previous, that they're going to take driver out of their hands on these par fours, even though some of them do rank as some of the toughest and do rank over or do have over 450 yards in distance. There are a lot of dog legs. So these guys are going to take driver out of their hands. Rahm doesn't do that. He stays aggressive. He's top 10 in strokes gained off the tee. I do like him at that plus 1,200 if you want to go high. I think he's a better value than these top two guys that we just talked about. And so I do like him.
All right, Jeff, what do you think?
It's hard for me to come here and say you should just fade John Rahm this week because he's been so amazing over the past month and a half. I mean, he hasn't finished worse than T11 his last 6 starts. He's just getting in contention every week, every time he hits the golf course, right? So I get why he's priced up like this. It wouldn't be a bet I would be looking to make this week. I think Dustin Johnson being there at 14-1 or even Justin Thomas just being higher in odds, it would be hard for me to really just be that committed to John Rahm because I think these other players behind him are playing pretty good too, even going down to Adam Scott. It worries me a little bit about Medina because it's thicker rough this week, and we did see here in 2006, you need to hit the fairways a little bit. Even Tiger Woods, who's a notable sprayer of the ball off the tee, he was above average in driving accuracy. So a little bit worried about Rahm. It's not enough of a worry to just say you should completely fade him, but for me, betting him at this price is just not enough there this week. Playing amazing though.
Okay, Northern Trust champion Patrick Reed. He is at plus 2,800. Jeff, what do you think here? He's bringing some momentum with him.
Patrick Reed is really interesting this week. I mean, I'm again, it's another player I'm probably not that interested in betting, but last week he was amazing off the tee. Not a good area for him usually. Usually very inaccurate off the tee. He was hitting fairways like nothing last week, and I mean that's pretty much what you want to do at Medina, right? So he's a player I think he could get in contention at this price. We have seen players go back-to-back in the playoffs before. Billy Horschel did in 2014. I'm probably not going to go there. I like Adam Scott a little bit better, but I think this is a very fair price for Patrick Reed this week, definitely.
Reed, I mean, this guy was trending in the right direction beforehand, and now he's, finished inside the top 25 in each of his last 6 starts?
Yeah, and if you just look at his stats, the week before, the strokes gained approach kind of scared you off a little bit. But I mean, he was trending to this spot, and that number that he had last week, I think was plus 5,500. If you got that, kudos to you. And this number too, it kind of bakes in that this is a no-cut event. This is like a WGC, but it's the second leg of the playoffs, and recent winners should be priced at a better number. And so plus 2,800 for Patrick Reed isn't bad at all. It doesn't necessarily fit, right? This course, you think there's distance involved, the par 5 score. You don't necessarily think Patrick Reed, and this guy is coming with great form. His strokes gained par 5 is top 15 over the last 24 rounds. I do like guys like Jeff mentioned a little bit at better odds. You got Xander at plus 45 and some other guys in that, even Bryson to an extent. I think it comes out firing is at that number near Xander as well. But I do like a little bit better though.
All right, finally, Keegan Bradley. He won this event last year and is plus 15,000 this year. Reed, talk to me.
No, thank you. I mean, his form is terrible, and he is the reigning champ, but it was at a different golf course, not here at Medina. He did do well though at the 2012 Ryder Cup. If you want to glean some information, he did well. I think he was 3-1 in his matchups, got 3 points for that USA team. I like him for first-round leader. He's a first-round leader type of guy. I think he's at plus 9,000. Over on that odds, but guys like Sanjay M at plus 100 or plus 10,000, even Emiliano Grillo comes in top 10 in strokes gained approach at plus 17.5. He is someone, or those two guys are a little bit more my style at this golf course than Keegan.
All right, Jeff, atrocious form. You want to stay away here?
Yeah.
Hilo! Yeah, I like Emiliano Grillo too. I didn't like him last week.
Chill out.
I thought he was going to do well, and he sucked, but I like Grillo over Bradley too. I mean, I could see Keegan, popping this week. I think he's an interesting DraftKings GPP. You're just taking too much risk. Elright, I got no interest. Defending champ, it's always hard to go back to back. He's not in that kind of form. If you're looking at longer odds, I also like Lucas Glover, who's been a lot more consistent than Bradley over the last couple months. He actually was first-round leader here back in 2006, year Tiger Woods won. Shot a first-round 66. So looking for long shots, I don't mind Grillo. I really like Glover. No Keegan for me. At least not betting. DraftKings, maybe.
Our gorgeous golf gurus, fantastic as always. You two hang out. We're doing NFL over/under win totals coming up. Jerry will join us again. I will mispronounce his last name. Yeah.
Don Abedian.
Okay, that's thank you. Right after this special edition of Francesa Monday.
We've got the Sports Pope back here at DraftKings. Mike Francesa of WFAN joining us. I'm Brendan Glasheen. Well, Mike, what do you make of Antonio Brown these days? Reportedly won't play football again unless he gets to wear his old helmet.
I think what you're learning is that it doesn't matter what team a fool's on, he'll be a fool on the whatever team he's on. So it was all the Steelers' fault. Now it's not their problem. And you'll find the same thing happens with Beckham, and hopefully for the Jets, the same thing doesn't happen with Bell. But most of the time it will. When a guy's a problem, he's a problem no matter what team he's on and what uniform he wears. And this is just the first of a litany. Guys who are problems are always problems. And this guy's talented, but always a problem. And like I said, the other two guys, those teams will have to get very, very lucky to not have the same problems with the other two in new uniforms.
How does Brown relate to other diva athletes that you've covered? How does he rank? Is he up there?
I don't rank them, but they're all, listen, a fool's a fool. That's all there is to it. He's ruining what ability he has. Talent isn't enough. You also have to be dedicated. You have to be a team guy. You have to understand and have a certain level of character. I don't care how much talent you have. It's not enough to carry you through no matter what sport it is. And you see it all the time. And years from now, he'll wise up and realize what his career could have been. In the NFL, your earning power and your time when you're on top is very, very, very small, smaller than the other sports. And from that standpoint, if you waste it, you'll wish you didn't. And I think guys like him, and I'll put Beckham in the same class, if they don't realize in a hurry how fleeting their talent is at the top, they'll wish they did, because they'll have a lot of years to look back on what they screwed up.
Let's recap the first week of the NFL preseason. First, the pass interference review has been put into action. 17 reviews in total through week one. Your thoughts on it?
Nothing. I have to see more. I'm not in love with the rule. I don't think there was a good way to fix this. There is not really one proper way to do this, but every one of them has problems. There's some positives to each of them. There's some negatives to each of them, but I need to see more in action. But listen, if it's done wisely, you can live with it. And the idea is just, again, you're looking to stop the egregious error. That's what you're trying to not have them wreck the game like they did in New Orleans. You don't want to have the repercussions of people wrecking games. That's what you're trying to do away with. That is really the essence of the whole thing, is do not have officials wreck a game where they can't fix it, like happened with the Rams-Saint game where they couldn't fix it. There was no way to fix it.
Daniel Jones goes a perfect 5 for 5 through the air, 67 yards and a touchdown. His first game action as a member of the Giants. I know, it's only preseason, but anything stand out in particular?
Yeah, what stands out is I can't believe how ridiculous it is that people get excited about one set of downs on what is a glorified scrimmage. I mean, but it happens every year. People don't understand that viewing anything from the prism of preseason is worthless. There is only about a very short time in Game 3 where you have a team that in any way resembles what a real team looks like. It's basically the first half of Game 3. That's it. At no other time is anything you see on a preseason field important, because you're playing against guys who won't be in the league. You're playing with guys that won't be in the league. It does not work. It's a terrible way to evaluate people. If you do it, you're going to be wrong almost all the time, because it's just not real.
All right, I was going to ask about the Jets, so I'll rephrase this next question. Does Le'Veon Bell need to play in this preseason to prove anything to you?
No, absolutely not. What he needs to do is somehow get enough contact, though, in training camp. And they don't do a lot of running work anymore in training camp like the old days. The thing that's going away is running game is very physical to practice. and they don't have physical practices anymore. So he may have to play in a game. He needs to get hit. He just needs to get hit. Running backs need to get hit to get game ready. So if he can't get it, his coach has got to realize if he isn't getting enough action in training camp, and in training camp it's hard now because you don't have a lot of time on the field, then he has got to put him in games. The problem with that is, again, you're putting him in games behind inefficient players. If you do that, you run the risk of somebody breaking through, getting a bad angle, and hurting him. That's the fear you have, putting him behind a bad offensive line or an inefficient offensive line. But they do need to play him some, because with him not having played last year, there's no way he's ready to play, because he just hasn't taken enough hits in the last year.
Yeah, and I would, just off the Daniel Jones question, Kyler Murray goes 6 for 7, 44 yards. Have we seen enough of Kyler Murray? Do you protect him?
God, no. Listen, you're not going to, the idea you're going to judge how good these guys are off training camp or off preseason games, the coaches have already decided who's going to play. They very rarely, it's almost a rare game. I can give you a player. Victor Cruz opened people's eyes by having a breakout game against the Giants, which is the closest thing, Giants is the closest thing to a real game in the first half of that preseason game in the old days when it was week 3. That game, he actually opened people's eyes with 3 touchdowns. It's very rare to have somebody actually break through and open people's eyes in training camp in a preseason game. It doesn't happen that often. They already know what they're doing with Murray. They already know what they're doing with Eli Manning. What's going to happen, though, is you're going to get a public outcry based on what the fans see in these preseason games. Yeah. But it's very rare for a player to go in and be completely inept and lose his job in a preseason game.
Let's look ahead to the real stuff. Last week, you laughed off Adam Kaufman's contractually obligated question about who's going to win the AFC East. So let's get your picks for the rest of the conference, and hopefully these are a little bit more challenging and it required a little more thought. Sportsbook odds for the AFC North are out. Browns are plus 130, Steelers plus 175, Ravens plus 300, Bengals plus 1,800. Who do you think is going to win the AFC North?
Steelers.
Why?
I think they're still the best team. Best quarterback, best coach, still the best team. And less confusion now. So I think they'll actually be more cohesive than they've been.
Browns have a sniff?
Nah, they're too young, and I think there's too many things you don't know. You have a coach there who has no experience dealing with a bunch of guys who are a bunch of lunkheads who like to talk. I think it's going to be really a tough matchup. They have talent, but again, talent itself is not enough in the NFL.
All right, to the AFC South. Colts are minus 112, Texans plus 300, Jaguars plus 425, Titans are plus 650, so this is kind of tight. Who do you think's taking the AFC South and why?
Very close all the way around. The Jaguars will bounce back in a big way because their defense is good. They will bounce back, I think, in a big way. I think the league will be very close, maybe the closest top-to-bottom league division in the whole sport. The biggest thing is if Lucky's calf is okay, and do not minimize that injury. That is a dangerous injury for the Colts. They better be very careful. If he's okay with that calf injury, I think the Colts win, because the reason why, he doesn't lose division games. That's why.
All right, to the AFC West. Chiefs are the favorites, minus 155. Chargers plus 180.
Stop right there. Chiefs are gone. They win in the dance.
This would be a shock, right, if they don't take this?
They take it. Andy has put everything he has into this year. It's Super Bowl or bust for the Chiefs. Nothing short. The Chiefs will be on a mission from the first snap of the season. They're gone in the division, and this is it. It's now or never. Yes, they know they should have won it last year. They know they were a D Ford offside play away from winning a championship. They know they would have won the Super Bowl. This is a mission now for this team. Like I said, now or never for the Chiefs.
So you're not into plus 1,400 for Antonio Brown and the Raiders?
Nothing. Now or never. Chiefs win it easy.
We told you Francesa Monday was special.
Yeah, very special.
And so are these three gentlemen. Breed T. Fowler in the middle. Jeff Ulrich on the right. And Jerry D. of RotoWire. Donna Bedian.
Donna Bedian.
Gosh dang! I'm
Oh
so
my God!
over this.
We
I'm
practiced during the commercial break too.
I literally practiced for like 3 minutes.
You should have just
Jerry Smith, good to have you on tonight.
You could have
bud.
just stuck with Jerry D, but
Give
you
Emerson
had to try.
a juice box or something.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff, he's gonna throw a full-on temper tantrum now. Stop it.
Terrible.
Snap out of
Projected win totals NFL.
Stop whining about Dunkaroos.
it. Come on, you can have a treat later.
Did you
if you
retweet that?
focus. If you focus, you can have a treat later. All right, read it.
Okay.
Okay.
You're up first.
We're doing over on. You didn't say
Yes,
that.
over
Okay.
under NFL.
All right, Reed, your Raiders 6 wins. You thinking over or under that? I mean, could be without Antonio Brown if he just decides to retire.
LOL.
Yeah, a couple of things on what just happened. I want Emerson to try and pronounce umbrella, and it needs to be a protein juice box,
Oh,
Jeff.
God.
It can't just be a regular juice
Just
box.
answer the
Yeah,
question.
it's
Just
gonna
answer
be
the question.
protein/Gatorade.
Yeah, and so with Mr. Big Chest coming back, this is interesting, right? At minus or at 8 games, or no, excuse me, 6 games. I really don't think they do it, even though they're my Raiders and I like them and I hope they can. I really don't think so. Hardest strength of schedule on their weeks 2 through 5. I mean, they play some pretty hard teams, right? Minnesota, Chicago, and when they come after their bye, they got Green Bay. And they have 2 of the teams that are in the top 8 in their futures odds for the Super Bowl with the Chargers and the Chiefs in their division. So I really don't see a path for the Raiders to get over this. They may get lucky and snag one of those in the first 6 weeks, but I really don't think so because they have to go 50% in their remaining 10 games, and I don't really like it. So I'm going to say under.
Oh man, Reed doesn't like it. Jeff, what do you
Sorry,
think?
Reed.
Yeah, it's a pretty gross schedule for the Raiders this year. I kind of wanted to try and make some kind of argument for them, but again, lost to Antonio Brown, and just looking at some of the things, obviously they have to play the Chiefs and Chargers twice, which is just kind of hellish just on its own. But then you also have to travel to Denver once. They have to go to Lambeau Field this year, which is an impossible place to play as a road team for most teams in the NFL just historically. So there's just not a lot to like here for the Raiders, and I just don't really like the team much to begin with anyways. I do think John Gruden might be able to get this team to play hard at the end of the year, which is a plus if you're looking at over-under bets. But 6 games, there's just not enough. If forced to choose, I'd probably take the under. I wouldn't bet either side of this, but I definitely take the under if forced to choose.
Jerry, you want to take the under with these guys?
Yeah, I wish I could have a more interesting opinion, but I think like 5-6 wins is the right range. And probably with Jeff, it's not something I would be inclined to bet, but if I had to, I would go with the under. I just think I can get, maybe excited about like Antonio Brown if he stays healthy and wants to play, Tyrell Williams, Josh Jacobs, even Darren Waller. But teams with Derek Carr at quarterback need to be good on the offensive line and on defense to win more than 5 or 6 games, and they're not good in any of those areas. On defense, they're relying on this crazy mishmash of young players who are unproven, and over-the-hill guys like Vontez Burfict and Brandon Marshall. It just doesn't really make much sense. I don't really see where they're going with this anytime soon.
Yeah, and just really quick, those games in those like first 6 weeks, they have a bye, but weeks 2 through 5, 4 of them are away. So they come back after their bye, then they travel to Green Bay. And so along with the teams, they're just not playing at the Coliseum, which doesn't even want them to begin with. So it's going to be tough test for the Raiders.
Yeah, it's just going to be the worst last season ever in California for them. Let's talk about my wife's hometown team so I can tell her we talked about her hometown team. The Bills, you can grab negative odds for over 6.5 plus, and then plus 110 for 7.5 or plus 200 for over 8.5. Which one you like the most, Jeff?
Oh boy, I do like the over for the Bills here. I mean, you just look at their start of season schedule. I mean, Jets, Giants, Bengals, and then they got to go to the Pats, but then they got the Titans. I mean, it's conceivable they could be maybe not 4-1, but 3-2 after that, and then they still get to play the Dolphins twice throughout the year. I mean, they're in essentially a weak division, which sounds strange because it's the Patriots division, but every other team is weak there, and they might be the best of the worst, right? So, if you're talking about odds and value, I mean, obviously, I think plus 110 for over 7.5 wins is probably like your best value. But I honestly don't mind taking the minus money here and just going over 6.5 wins because I really just look at the schedule. I look at the solid defense, how Sean McDermott plays, and just is able to get his team into close games. The rushing ability of Josh Allen giving opposing defenses issues. I like the Bills here. I like the Bills for the over.
Donna Bedian, what do you think? Which odds do you like the most?
That wasn't right.
I think you're getting a little bit closer every time.
No, that was wrong, Emerson.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
It was Donna Bedian.
Donna
it was a little
Bedian.
better, though.
Donna Bedian.
Oh, my God.
Which
Jared,
odds do you like
will you
for the
please
Bills?
come back on our show? I promise I'll say your name next time, every time.
I thought during the break I heard it pronounced correctly.
That's what I'm saying, dude. I'm trying.
I thought I heard it, but it's tough. Like, just because you get it once doesn't mean you have it, I guess. But for the Bills, I like the under here, the under 6.5 wins. I think that on defense, they've got some really top-notch talent with bringing in Ed Oliver on top of Tre'Davious White, Tremaine Edmonds. It could be a fun defense to watch, but the depth there is questionable. And then on offense, kind of look at their depth chart and you can like talk yourself into it because there's like not really a clear, terrible position. But I also can't point out one of their 11 starters who I'm like, that guy's a really good quality NFL starter. Maybe Deion Dawkins, left tackle, but even then he's more in like that above average range. And I just think with Josh Allen at quarterback and a bunch of like okay guys around him, I don't see that working out pretty. And one or two key injuries on defense, I could see them being worse than the Dolphins. I almost think they're closer to the Dolphins for competing for third place in that division than the Jets. I think the Jets are going to take a step forward this year.
Reed, you look at these, the over-under here, the odds. Which one looks tasty to you?
Yeah, I'm not going to piss off Meg here, so I'm going to say over the 7.5. I know what happens when you're not on Meg's side. That's Emerson's wife, for everyone who's wondering. But look, you can easily go either way here with the first two bets out there, the minus or the under 6.5 or the over. But I'm kind of with Jeff on this. If you look at their first half of the schedule, it's really easy. And when you look at some of these teams like the Giants, the Dolphins and the Bungles, all three of those teams, they ranked in the lower fifth of teams in rush DVOA. And Josh Allen, while he's not necessarily a starter that we think can win games, I mean, he kept him in a lot of games last season, which is weird to say because it's Josh Allen. And there's those teams that they play against, there's a lot of question marks. And so, yes, it can go either way. Injuries obviously play a mark, but I'm going to say that over 7.5 is a good bet.
Yeah, now to America's team.
Yeah.
Reed wrote that. Emerson wrote that. The Jacksonville Jaguars. So, Jerry, over or under 8 wins for the team quarterbacked by Jeff's hero, Nick Foles?
I'm going to have to take the under.
Whoa!
Keep throwing teams with bad quarterbacks at me, and I'll keep taking the under. I think with Jacksonville, the big question is whether 2017 was the fluke or 2018 was the fluke.
2018.
Maybe the reality is somewhere in the middle, but even so, like I look at 2017 and they didn't have to face Andrew Luck. They didn't have to face Deshaun Watson because Bill O'Brien decided not to start him week 1, and by the time they played the Texans again, Deshaun Watson was out for the year. So that division, which we've kind of thought of as like the doormat division for a solid 10 years, has now suddenly become a pretty good division. And I just think, with the tough schedule and the offense is totally relying on Leonard Fournette, like that's their plan. We're going to run the ball with Leonard Fournette. We didn't get a decent backup. We don't have decent receivers. Jeff Swam's our tight end. Like, we're going to run it with Leonard Fournette. That seems really, really sketchy to me, and there's a lot of potential for it to go horribly wrong.
Jeff, those are fighting words.
Yeah, I'm just going to pull the old Men in Black trick here on myself because I've forgotten what John said about Nick Foles.
Jerry. Oh, my God. Jerry. I'm so sorry, Jerry. Okay.
Okay. But this is actually the over for Jacksonville is actually one of my favorite bets this year. And There's a lot of reasons why. I love the fact they brought in John DeFilippo. I think they are going to throw more than Jerry thinks. They still got DJ Chark there on the outside. But it also comes down to just part of their schedule. I mean, they do have a pretty highly ranked strength of schedule. But when you start to really pick it apart, they get Drew Brees at home traveling across the country. They get Phillip Rivers at home traveling across the country. And they got a bunch of powder puffs on their schedule, too, like the Raiders and the Bengals. I think Nick Foles is a big upgrade at quarterback. And again, if you don't think Nick Foles is that good, then obviously I can understand why you're taking the under. It makes a lot of sense. But I think they're in kind of a middling division where there's no other elite teams there. And I think Jacksonville 2 years ago was one step away from the Super Bowl. They still have an elite defense. I love this over 8 wins personally. It's one of my favorite bets for over-unders.
Reed, what do you think?
Yeah, buddy.
Well, this panel is really struggling with the names here, but I'm with Don Abedian here, and I'm going to say under. And it's not just because Jeff and Emerson like the Jaguars. Nick Foles might be an upgrade, but who's he passing to? I mean, is it Terrell Pryor that they signed? Is it Chris Conley? Right? Is it DJ Chark? I mean, this is a carousel of names that I don't really think that we have a lot of, or shouldn't have a lot of confidence in. You should be featuring a guy like Leonard Fournette, but then that comes with question marks on if you give this guy too many carries. They got a team like Tampa Bay in the division, right, with Carolina and Atlanta, the teams that they play against. Tampa Bay, I think, gets a bit of an increase here in terms of their quality of coaching and how they're going to be deployed and their talent on their team. And they still got to face the Saints and then the Texans. I mean, this is going to be a tough schedule. It's third behind Denver and Oakland in strength of schedule. I'm going to take the under here.
Okay. Yep. Knew that was going to happen. Anyway, Jeff, thank you for believing in the Jaguars. Jerry, I apologize for mispronouncing your name.
Jerry, I got your name next time. Don't worry, man.
And good to
Got it right the first time, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anywho, I hope all three of you have a fantastic night. We're going to have some MLB Showdown picks coming your way right after these words from Pat Mayo.
The quick picks for the 2019 BMW Championship. Right now, I'm in on Cantlay at 22-1. I don't want to miss out on that one. Hideki at 50 with the each way, Poulter at 55 with the each way, and the typical Siwoo and Cameron Champ with their each ways, 160 and 200-1. I am giving a lot of consideration to Justin Thomas at 16-1. That's probably where I'll end up going, or I might just keep it light. It's not like I'm having a good year. I don't need to continue to fill up the card with a bunch of losers. You?
I've bet Hideki. I've bet Hideki at 50. I'm gonna bet Justin Thomas.
Okay.
And then between that, I don't know. Feeling kind of charmed. Maybe it is a Ricky week.
There you go. Do you know who rates out number one?
I like Cantlay too. I was hoping you weren't gonna pick him though. Like I was all set to bet him with the second you weren't gonna bet him.
Good God, I've turned into Cust?
No, you've just created this thing where guys that you I think have bet
couple times
in a row, and you get off, and there's a win right at the precipice of it.
Do you know who ranks number one in the custom stat modeling over the past 24 rounds?
Rory McIlroy?
No. He's 40-1. We didn't see him last week. Paul Casey. Doesn't he kind of do everything that we talked about? He drives it long, he drives it straight, and great with long irons. Also can't putt, but hey, a lot of people can't putt and they win. It's been the year of team can't putt.
He wasn't there last week.
No, he took the week off.
He was on Faraday, though.
Yeah, I'm sure they pre-record those.
Obviously. He's got Langer on this week.
Langer has a really tight face.
Yeah, it's very leathery.
He's been out in the sun for some time.
It's very leathery. He's holding on because the landscape on that tour is changing.
Well, Phil's going to be there next year. I don't think that Phil's really going to go play on the Champions Tour, but he'll be eligible.
I hope he plays senior majors.
That'd be awesome. That's basically what Stricker does. Stricker plays the senior majors.
Stricker's playing more events now. But he got screwed that the John Deere was the same weekend as a major.
Unfair.
Okay, so Hideki I've bet. I'll say I've bet Justin Thomas because I'm going to bet him right now.
And that's it? You'll figure it out later in the week.
Yeah, but I'll be invested in. I can't not bet Bryson. I'm pot committed.
You can
now.
do whatever you want.
So pot committed on the guy.
Like I said, maybe it's an FU week for Bryson DeChambeau. Just sticks it to everyone. And then he'll be in the final group on Sunday.
He can play Slowsy freaking
and he'll intentionally take 5 minutes to line up every putt.
I was snickering when I heard on the telecast that they had put read and answer on the clock.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Last block of the show, you can almost start your Tuesday. Basically, we can all go to sleep. It's very
I am
exciting.
going to bed very early.
I can't wait.
I'm having an awful show.
First, though, how about Showdown picks for tonight's 2 contests on DraftKings? Do you like that?
I like where your head is at, Mother Goose. So we've got Greg, we've got Doug back here to help us with, let's see, Showdown picks, right, for the 2 contests tonight?
Yeah,
Greg?
I said that already.
Yeah,
Did
you got
say
that one right this time, Emerson.
Good God, man. I don't know what is happening to me today.
I feel like we need to give him a star every time he does something correctly now.
Yeah.
And the other thing, too, because I want to make you feel good about yourself, I'm Team Dunkaroo. I retweeted you. Let's bring it back.
Yes, I
there
know.
you go.
Now, if only Betty freaking Crocker would retweet me so
Okay,
we
let's
could get
stay
it all
focused,
back.
buddy, for their last block, okay?
Greg, I'm going to read off my script here. Who is your captain's pick for the D-backs Rockies game?
So I'm going to go with Ketel Marte here. He's hit really well from both sides of the plate. He's playing in Coors Field. If we look at Lambert, the starting pitcher for the Rockies, really struggled to get out left-handed bats. 420 WOBA is giving up to lefties, and Marte has the highest upside of any left-handed bat in the D-backs lineup. Most games of 20 DK fantasy points of any player on that roster.
Doug, good to have you here. What say you?
Yeah, I'm going the other side. I'm going to go Blackmon hitting leadoff for the Rockies. He's absolutely killed it at home. Everyone kills him in Colorado, so you really can't give too many bat packs for something like that. But the WOBA is up near 400 when he's at home. It's his road numbers that have really kind of killed the overall line. So as you know, WOBA 524, 1300 OPS. I'm going Blackmon in the captain spot. Easily the highest projected player for us on that slate.
All right, who's the best value play in this game here, Doug?
Yeah, I think it's Daniel Murphy. He's another one that his price is down mostly because he's really struggled with some injuries and on the road stuff as well. But his home numbers, like Blackmon, are just like I said, it's going to be beating a dead horse here. But everyone's going to be better at Coors. And the numbers at home for him this year: 910 OPS, 381 WOBA. He's priced down, hitting the middle of the lineup, slotted between Story and Arenado. So I'm going Daniel Murphy here. Pretty easy call for me on that one.
Greg. No. You have to let Greg
Yeah, I was
answer.
going to have Greg answer the question.
Whose fault is that? Whose fault
It's
is
Emerson's.
All right, so I know what the question's going to be. I'll jump in and answer here. I like Jake Lamb and Ryan McMahon, both a lot in the middle of the lineup also. Both are fairly cheap. Between the two, I lean a little bit towards Lamb. If we look at Lamb in previous years, he's been a really, really good hitter, particularly against right-handed pitching. And then he's just been injured most of this year and last year. But since the All-Star break, 115 WRC+. So he's starting to get healthy, starting to get more regular playing time. I think he's somebody who could play really well to close out the year, and we see him more of the hitter what he was in previous seasons as opposed to this year coming back from injury.
So that was your value pick, right?
Correct.
There we go.
Great.
All right.
So let's go to the second Showdown contest?
Yeah.
All right, Rays and Padres.
You got it, man.
Greg, who is your captain pick? So 1.5 times the salary, but 1.5 times the point. I got that right.
There you go. So for me, we talked about him earlier, Joey Lucchesi. It's the Rays playing a compromised starting lineup. They struck out a ton against left-handed pitching for the season. I think Doug did make a good point earlier in the show that this particular lineup doesn't strike out all that much. But still, I think that them losing the DH, playing in the National League Park, that's going to make a really big deal. Lucchesi also just the high upside at home, striking out over a hitter per inning since the All-Star break. So I think that he's the guy with the highest combination of floor and ceiling. Plus, there's a lot of cheap bats, so it's pretty easy to pay up for pitchers.
Doug, Rays, Padres, captain, please.
Yeah, I gotta just ditto that because we have him Lucchesi, that is, projected for almost double the next closest player on the slate. You know, we talk about the Tampa Bay pitching situation, but I think you really, not to just ditto the whole thing here, but I think you have to just basically put Lucchesi in that spot and try to grab some value bats.
Yeah, so hook us up with the Tampa Bay, San Diego value play here, Doug.
Yeah, so Diego Castillo is starting, but Austin Pruitt is the projected long reliever, and Castillo really only throws about an inning or two. He's priced like a starter at 9,000, but Pruitt, who probably will throw something like 3 innings, is 3,000. And I think 3 innings at 3,000 in a Showdown lineup just basically allows you to get Lucchesi and stack almost whatever bat you want. So I think Pruitt is a fantastic value here. Under the radar too, hopefully people just see Castillo as the starter when Pruitt almost definitely will be the one that ends with more innings.
Greg, value, please.
Yeah, I think Pruitt's a really good call. Just throw out a cheaper bat. Matt Duffy from the Rays. So the more compromised lineup the Rays have, Duffy's hitting out of the 5th spot. He hasn't played all that much this year also because of an injury issue. He only has about 20 at-bats or so against left-handed pitching. We look at him for his career. He's been a slightly above-average hitter against lefties throwing. He's in an advantageous lineup position and also really cheap. I think he makes for a good value bat.
Let's go to slate-approved picks. Doug, so your must-play on this entire 8-game slate.
Oh, on the entire 8-game slate?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go a little off board here. I'm gonna go Aaron Judge. That the Yankee line is actually higher. The implied run total for the Yankees is actually higher than the either side of the Rockies D-backs game, and sometimes Coors can really throw people off. Judge is slumping a little bit, but I think that most people are going to want to stack the Colorado game, and I like going Judge for a little separation and just as much upside as any of the bats that are in the Mile High Air.
Greg, very quickly, please.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people are going to look for expensive offenses to stack. So I kind of like the Reds. They're really cheap. I think they're in a good position on offense. And then just give yourself a different lineup build from everybody else. That'll force you to pay up a little bit at pitching, where most people are going to go cheap at pitching and expensive at offense.
All right, love it, you guys. Good stuff. We'll be back tomorrow at 6. And
Look at that camera.
I am looking at that camera.
Okay, sorry. Maybe I was not
Oh my God. We need to end this show. The sweet release
Aaron
of
Boone
this
on the
show
show tomorrow
being
night.
over.
Aaron Boone, everyone.